Welcome to Discover Top 5, the channel where we dive deep into the most intriguing, thought-provoking, and sometimes controversial topics from around the world. If you're curious, captivated by the unknown, and want to explore the hidden facts, shocking truths, and fascinating lists that make our world tick, you've come to the right place. Here on Discover Top 5, we go beyond the headlines, taking you on a journey to uncover secrets, reveal insights, and explore the stories you won't find anywhere else. Whether it's world events, science, history, or the most mind-blowing discoveries, we'll bring you top lists that will make you think, rethink, and maybe even change the way you see the world. From geopolitical tensions to the hidden dangers lurking beneath the surface, we tackle it all with accuracy, depth, and a touch of intrigue. We're not here just to entertain you, we're here to make you question, reflect, and engage with the most pressing issues and the most amazing facts. So, if you love uncovering the top stories that shape our future, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and join the Discover Top 5 community today. In today's episode, we're going to explore some of the biggest global threats facing the world today. These are the challenges that keep experts up at night, the issues that have the potential to reshape the course of history. Get ready, because what you're about to uncover may be more complex and more urgent than you imagined. So, let's dive in and discover the top 5 most pressing global threats that could change everything. Stay with us.
China, a vast nation as expansive as the Great Wall itself, stands as one of the most significant challenges to U.S. security today. The economic ascent of China, fueled by rapid industrialization and strategic ambitions, has caught the attention of Washington. Under the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party (CCP), China has employed aggressive economic strategies that include intellectual property theft, forced technology transfers, and unfair trade practices, actions that have alarmed both U.S. businesses and policymakers alike. The FBI has identified China's counterintelligence and economic espionage activities as severe threats to American democracy and economic prosperity. But this issue isn't confined to trade wars. China is systematically seeking to gain a technological edge and exert influence over global markets. The Trump administration responded to these challenges with tariffs and sanctions, attempting to curb China's economic practices. However, the effectiveness of these strategies remains debated. China's military expansion is another key concern. The country's investment in advanced military capabilities, including cyber warfare and space technologies, directly challenges U.S. military dominance. One area where tensions have escalated is the South China Sea, a critical maritime route where China has aggressively pursued territorial claims, which the U.S. has countered with strengthened alliances in the Asia-Pacific region. Now, let's turn our attention to Russia, a nation whose relationship with the U.S. has been marked by both cooperation and intense rivalry. Under Vladimir Putin's leadership, Russia has attempted to reassert its influence globally, often through actions that defy international norms. Cyber attacks targeting U.S. infrastructure and alleged interference in elections have been major points of contention, raising concerns about the security of American democracy. During the Trump presidency, the approach toward Russia was complex. Although President Trump sought to improve relations, he was also firm in imposing sanctions on Russia in response to actions like the annexation of Crimea and support for separatist movements in Ukraine. The Russian military, particularly its nuclear arsenal, remains a significant concern for the U.S. as the country continues to modernize its defense systems and develop new weapons technology. Additionally, Russia's involvement in conflicts like the Syrian civil war has demonstrated its willingness to project power beyond its borders, often opposing U.S. interests. Iran has long been a focal point of U.S. foreign policy, largely due to its nuclear ambitions and its influence across the Middle East. Despite being a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT), Iran has engaged in clandestine uranium enrichment activities that have raised alarms about its potential to develop nuclear weapons. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action (JCPOA), a 2015 agreement aimed at limiting Iran's nuclear capabilities in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions, was a pivotal moment in the international community's response to Iran's nuclear program. However, President Trump withdrew the U.S. from the deal in 2018, criticizing it as flawed, particularly because it did not address Iran's ballistic missile program or support for proxy militias in the Middle East. Iran's support for proxy groups in countries like Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen has enabled the regime to exert influence across the region, destabilizing government and challenging U.S. allies. Furthermore, Iran has developed significant cyber capabilities, with Iranian hackers targeting U.S. infrastructure, financial institutions, and government agencies. The combination of nuclear ambitions, regional influence, and cyber operations makes Iran a multifaceted challenge for U.S. security. North Korea, under the leadership of Kim Jong-un, has consistently posed a major threat to U.S. national security. The country's pursuit of nuclear weapons and ballistic missile technology has been a central focus for multiple U.S. administrations. North Korea's successful nuclear tests and long-range missile launches have demonstrated its capability to target U.S. territories, prompting the Trump administration to respond with a combination of aggressive rhetoric and diplomacy. President Trump's famous Fire and Fury comment was an example of his forceful stance on the North Korean threat. Yet, despite the harsh rhetoric, Trump also engaged in unprecedented diplomatic efforts, including historic summits with Kim Jong-un aimed at denuclearizing the Korean peninsula. While these talks were groundbreaking, they yielded limited concrete results. North Korea's continued development of nuclear weapons, along with its oppressive regime and aggressive posturing towards South Korea and Japan, remains a significant challenge. Beyond the nuclear issue, the North Korean regime's human rights abuses and its destabilizing actions in East Asia have far-reaching consequences. The Trump administration's strategy focused on a mix of sanctions and diplomatic pressure, but the long-term resolution to the North Korean threat requires sustained international cooperation and strategic patience. Syria has been embroiled in a devastating civil war since 2011, with the regime of Bashar al-Assad violently suppressing peaceful protests, leading to widespread destruction and a humanitarian crisis. Over 500,000 people have lost their lives, and millions have been displaced, with more than half of Syria's pre-war population affected. The ongoing conflict is marked by involvement from a wide range of factions, including the Syrian government, rebel groups, ISIS, and Kurdish-led organizations. The humanitarian situation in Syria is dire, with over 7.5 million children in need of assistance as of 2024. Despite this, the geopolitical situation remains fluid and complex, with numerous international players, including Russia, Iran, Turkey, and the United States, exerting influence in the region. President Trump's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from northern Syria in 2019 was controversial, especially as it left Kurdish forces vulnerable to Turkish military actions. Critics argued that this withdrawal opened the door for a resurgence of ISIS. Despite these challenges, Trump maintained that the U.S. had successfully eliminated the ISIS caliphate, but the power vacuum left by the withdrawal risks further instability in the region. Mexican drug cartels present another significant challenge for U.S. security. These cartels are notorious for their involvement in drug trafficking, violence, and corruption, with their influence spanning both Mexico and the United States. They control vast swaths of territory and have become increasingly sophisticated in their operations. The cartels are responsible for producing and trafficking illegal drugs like cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl substances that fuel the opioid crisis in the U.S. Drug-related violence, with thousands of homicides each year, has become a regular feature of life in areas affected by cartel activity. Trump's response to this threat focused on increasing border security measures, including his push for building a border wall and designating these cartels as terrorist organizations. The cartel's influence extends beyond drug trafficking. They engage in human trafficking, extortion, money laundering, and even have political reach, undermining governance and stability in Mexico. Tackling this problem requires cooperation between the U.S. and Mexico, but the scale and complexity of the cartel's operations make this a persistent issue. Venezuela, once one of the wealthiest countries in Latin America due to its vast oil reserves, has experienced catastrophic economic and political decline under the leadership of Nicolás Maduro. Maduro's government has been accused of widespread corruption, human rights violations, and economic mismanagement, leading the U.S. to impose strict sanctions. The U.S. took a firm stance against Maduro, recognizing opposition leader Juan Guaido as the legitimate interim president in 2019, a move that strained diplomatic relations. While sanctions have intensified, they have also worsened Venezuela's economic collapse, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis and pushing millions of people into poverty. Despite the U.S. pressure, Venezuela maintains strong ties with Russia, its main ally, and has sought support from other authoritarian regimes, further complicating the situation. The U.S. continues to push for democratic reforms, but navigating this delicate balance remains challenging. The U.S. relationship with Cuba has been fraught with tension for decades, dating back to the Cuban Revolution of 1959, which aligned the country with the Soviet Union. This led to the severance of diplomatic ties and the establishment of a U.S. embargo designed to isolate Cuba. Under President Trump, the U.S. shifted to a harder stance, reversing many of the policies put in place by President Obama to normalize relations. Trump's administration reinstated Cuba on the list of state sponsors of terrorism, largely due to Cuba's support for Venezuela's Maduro regime and other authoritarian governments. Despite these tensions, Cuba maintains strong ties with Russia and continues to support Venezuela, making it a resilient adversary in the region. Afghanistan has been a focal point of U.S. military strategy since the events of 9/11. When the Taliban government provided a safe haven to al-Qaeda, the U.S. invasion aimed to dismantle terrorist networks and prevent future attacks. However, the situation in Afghanistan remains complicated, with significant military and civilian casualties, along with ongoing political and economic instability. The Trump administration advocated for a more strategic, conditions-based approach, rather than focusing on arbitrary timelines. While there were significant achievements in defeating terror groups like ISIS, the country's future remains uncertain, especially after the U.S. withdrawal in 2021. Pakistan, often mentioned in conjunction with Afghanistan, plays a crucial role in regional security. However, the U.S. has long accused Pakistan of harboring terrorist groups like the Taliban. This tension escalated during the Trump administration, with President Trump publicly criticizing Pakistan for its support of groups that undermine U.S. interests. Pakistan's nuclear capabilities add an additional layer of complexity to its relationship with the U.S. With an estimated 120 nuclear weapons, Pakistan is rapidly expanding its nuclear arsenal, which could alter the strategic balance in South Asia.
And there you have it, top 5 global threats that could shape the future of our world. As we've uncovered today, the challenges ahead aren't just isolated to one region or issue. They're interconnected, complex, and often hidden in plain sight. From shifting alliances to emerging technologies, the stakes have never been higher. But as we face these challenges head-on, the question remains, how will we, as a global community, respond? It's not just about the big headlines. It's about the details, the choices, the strategies, the people behind them. Every decision we make today echoes into tomorrow, and our understanding of these threats shapes the path we walk. At Discover Top 5, we believe that knowledge is power. The more we understand, the better equipped we are to navigate the world around us. And that's why we're here to continue exploring, learning, and revealing the stories that matter most. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's list. Do you agree with the threats we've highlighted, or do you think there are others that should take their place? Join the conversation in the comments below and let us know what you think. If you enjoyed this deep dive into global security and the challenges we face, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us grow, and it means we can keep bringing you the most fascinating top lists that you won't find anywhere else. Also, be sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode from Discover Top 5. We're constantly exploring the next big topic, and we want you to be the first to know when we release new content. Stay informed, stay curious, and, most importantly, stay engaged. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back with more Top 5 lists, revealing the stories that matter and the facts you need to know. Until then, keep discovering, and we'll see you in the next one.